everyone, it's Lizzie and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another Budget with a Friend video for you guys because you all have been requesting it. So here is another one for you. And this friend of ours is in quite a bit of debt, but I have a plan. If I woke up in her shoes, this is how I would plan out the budget. So if you guys are interested to see what the paycheck budgets that I've set up look like, then keep on watching. But before I get into that, I wanted to thank our sponsor for today's video, and this video is sponsored by Skillshare. And if you don't know who Skillshare is, they are an online learning community where they have thousands of classes to choose from, and you can learn illustration, photography. They have entrepreneurship and freelance classes, crafts, and so many other classes to choose from. And I've personally taken the bookkeeping for freelancers, how to handle your finances. That was taught by Emily Simcox. And what I learned is it's really important to keep your business transactions separate from your personal accounts, because it makes taxes and all that so much easier if you are a small business owner. Then I highly recommend checking out that class. And I'm so grateful to them because they are offering a free trial Skillshare premium membership to the first 1,000 people to use the link that's in my description box. So definitely go and check it out if you're wanting to learn something new. I really recommend them. They have so many different options if you're curious to just try something new or get organized in your business finances. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Well, now I'm going to go on into this budget video. So this is all of the information that I have received from our friend, and I don't know if I'm missing anything, but again, I'm just basing it off of the information that she submitted to me. So we have certain debt totals, and I've highlighted what is paid monthly, the minimum payment. But we have a total debt of $62,627.78. That's quite a bit. And we have savings for her, and this is numbers as of June, so they obviously would be different now. I'm just now getting to her information. Her savings, she currently has an emergency fund. It looks like a starter emergency fund. She has $1,000. Car maintenance savings of $200. Celebrations, she mentioned that this is for like any celebration, or also like holidays and all of that. She has $200 as of June. And then she has a tax account that has $500, and this is because she has a side gig going on where she takes a portion of that, which is very smart, and she sets it aside for her taxes. Now she has goals, her and her husband, so she is married. Sorry, I didn't mention that. She is married, and she has certain goals. Now, these goals are to pay off debt and build an emergency fund. She'd like to save $1,000 for car maintenance and also $1,000 for her celebration savings. She also wants to make sure that she sets aside 15% of her side income for her taxes. Now, again, very smart. If you have any side hustles going on, you definitely want to make sure that you set aside a percentage in a tax-specific account where when you file your taxes, you do have to pay taxes on that. So that is kudos to her for making a note of that and knowing that that is very important. So let me just highlight a couple of things in her debt. So she has, she didn't mention any credit cards, so that is a good thing. But she has a line of credit, a couple of loans, a student loan, and a car loan. Now, I don't know if this is for two vehicles, her and her husband, but that is $22,398. The minimum monthly payment is $486.48. That is a lot going to debt. But as she requested, as you all want to know, how would I budget out if I was in her situation? So that's what we're going to get into. So I use a calendar view where I just plug in, when are the paydays and when are the bills due. I just quickly make a note of that. So I put dollar symbols of when the paydays are. So her and her husband, they get paid bi-weekly. And they're on opposite schedules. So they receive a paycheck each week, which is really nice. Now is the part that I love. I love this. Let me zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit better. So the bill tracker, this is probably what I'm most known for. I love using the bill tracker, and here is the perfect reason why. So I've separated this into two different sections. Let me explain. The first section are all of those fixed expenses, those debts, those regular bills that come out of her bank account. These are those items that they don't change, right? But then I have this little box, and these are the cash envelopes that she budgets out for each month and each week, and they are in cash envelopes. She does withdraw them. So I separate them out based on the due dates, and I break this down based on each paycheck. So because they receive an income each week, it makes it really simple to break it down weekly. So what you do is you just take the total amount due, and for this first month example, I will be assuming that they've already set aside funds for the bills that are due recently. That is my hope. If I woke up in your shoes, that's what I would have been doing. So essentially what you do is you take your total income, you highlight when you have to make sure you have that bill total ready to be paid when it gets auto drafted from your account. So that's what I've done. I've highlighted when I have to have the total funds set aside in my bank account. So this bill, the student loan, is due on the 10th, but they don't receive a pay on the 10th. They receive a pay on the 6th. So they need to make sure that they have that total $293 student loan in their bank account to be ready to pay by the 6th. The same thing goes for, these bills right here. So they've already paid their rent and the loan and the phone in the beginning of November. So now they have to start thinking about the upcoming month, setting themselves up for success for the following month. So on the 1st, they have to have their rent due. So the last paycheck of November, they need to make sure that they have that total amount set aside in their bank account so that they're ready to pay it on or before the 1st, right? So that's what these are. I've just taken that number and divided it by the amount of paydays to be able to pay for that bill. So we set it aside in the bank account. Now again, this is me thinking that they've already set aside the prior weeks. So let me show you really quick what the December bill tracker looks like. So it makes it a lot easier when you see so let me flip back here. So you take the $293, right? And we're going to divide it by how many pays leads up to that next bill. So we have 1, 2, 3. And let me just flip to, still looking at the student loan, 4. So we're going to take the $293 and we're going to divide it by 4 weeks. And that gives us the total amount. Let's look at the car insurance. $29.86 is the last amount that we are going to set aside for. But you see here, we set aside $34 all of that time. So you just do this for each of your months, and it will make it less stressful, I feel, when you have a plan already in place for your pay schedule, for your paydays. So you reference this. Oh, and let me talk about the cash envelope category. The only thing that she mentioned that they set aside were these, right? Groceries, eating out, gas, her personal allowance, and then her spouse's allowance. She did mention that they take out about $60 each month for like a personal spending. And the gas, they spend $100 a month. Now that might be just one of the cars. She didn't specify. I'm just basing it again off of what she sent me. So $100 a month is what I am including. It could be $200, but we're just going to go with $100 for right now. And she didn't mention anything about groceries. What's their amount that they set aside for groceries or eating out? So if I woke up in her shoes, I would do it the same way that I do mine. We set aside $300 a month, and that's because they are a family of 2 from what she sent me and what I read. She didn't mention having children, so we're basing it off of that. So $300 a month, that is $100 per person in your household, but starting at $300. Since they're a family of 2, just like my husband and I recommend $300 for groceries. And eating out, obviously this is just a made up number from me. I just guessed. $50 a week I think is reasonable. You should do cooking at home personally. And especially with her goals of wanting to pay off debt, then maybe eating out less is a good thing, right? Now, one thing that she did mention is that she wants to pay off debt and build an emergency fund, but also not have like those restrictions and not feel like they don't have a life, right? And that's another reason why I love doing budgeting and I love doing the bill breakdown and the cash envelopes, because you can adjust accordingly based on each paycheck. So now let's get into the paycheck worksheet, and I reference this bill tracker. So make note of what we've set aside here on the bill tracker, and I use these numbers and I plug it in to our paycheck budget. This is the first pay for November, and this is her husband's pay. They get a side gig, $400 a week is what she said. So the total income is $1,500 for the total income. Now I use a percentage formula. This is on my worksheet. It's actually originally written as 70, 20, 10, but I've adjusted it because they have debt. I think that 80% of expenses is what should be applied for their situation personally. They didn't mention tithes, so I did not include that. So we're just doing the full 20% towards the goal. So that's $300. You take the income and you multiply it by the percentage amount. So the $1,500, multiply it by 0.80, it gives us $1,200 is the recommended amount that should go towards spending. Now, obviously, you don't necessarily have to reach that 80% amount. This is just a guide where you don't want to spend no more than that amount is recommended. Everyone's situation is different, but this is why I love the percentage formula, because you can reference back to it as you create your paycheck budget. So I've written in, based on the bill tracker, her expenses. So you can always, rewind back and look at the bill tracker for this, but that's where I got these numbers from. Adding them up, we're at $791.09, well below this $1,200 recommended expense amount. But we still have cash envelopes that we have to budget for based on her situation. So with the cash envelopes from that bill tracker breakdown, it's $180, still below that 80% recommended amount. I just want to keep making a note of that, because I know a lot of people are not sure if this method works. If you look it over and do tweaks, it could possibly work for you. So now that we are so under that goal or that expense amount for the $1,200, well, I thought, well, you know what? Since we fell below, why don't we add a little bit more to these goals that she had? So she wanted to increase car maintenance, celebration, vacation. She wanted to apply funds for taxes, which is 15%. So I started here. I took the side gig amount of the $400 and I multiplied it by 0.15, and it gave me 15% of that. So $60 she'll put into her tax savings account. And then I just put in $75 for each because we were so under with the expenses. So $285 based on this paycheck, they can apply for their sinking funds, which is awesome. But she also said that she wants to grow her emergency fund and pay extra on debt. She wants to do them both simultaneously while being able to live a life. So that's why we left this as that. Now she could always adjust these numbers, the allowances, since she was so under, maybe go over her expenses and see what she actually spends week by week. She might want to increase that because $15 is a little bit less than what I think reality is. So that's a quick recommendation there. I'll get to my recommendations at the end of the video, just so you know. But emergency, I think $100 is good, so that way she can start growing that more than that $1,000. And then she can apply an extra debt payment of $143.91 on the less balance. I recommend the debt snowball. So she had listed her debts smallest to largest here. And I think that you should tackle this line of credit balance and just putting that extra debt payment on top of this regular payment that you make. You can add that extra funds of the 143, and that would really start the momentum of paying off debt so much faster. So this is the first paycheck, and now we have the second one. So this is actually not her spouse's, this is hers. So let me just fix that. All right, I fixed it. Okay, so this is now her pay. So they get paid the same. They get $1,100 bi-weekly, and then the side gigs every week, $400. So this is pretty much looking identical as the last one. And it looks as if this is going to be a same cycle for them as each paycheck because they've received the same income. And based on the breakdown, it's pretty similar. The only difference with this is the amount that we're setting aside for the car loan, and that's based on the bill tracker breakdown. It's going to be a little bit less because this is when we have to have that total amount set aside in the bank account. So now, being at a zero-based budget, that is the goal, to give every single one of your dollars a job. The total remaining for this is $712, taking the income, subtracting the expenses. We still have the same cash envelopes amounts that we're going to budget out for. We still have the same amount that we are going to set aside for sinking funds, also the emergency fund. But this increased just a little bit because that is the main goal, is to pay off debt. So $147.43 they're able to apply towards the less balance debt is my recommendation. So now I feel this is a good segue to share what my recommendations are for someone in this situation. So one thing I noticed is that there are 2 car insurances. So why not combine those 2 car insurances? I don't know why you have them separate. There could be a reason, but I think that if you all are married, you should combine everything. So definitely look into combining your car insurances and that renter insurance. Lump sum it, and it will definitely drop that payment. So I think that that will make your budgeting a lot easier, and it could possibly save you some money. Now, for this second one, let me just explain. I don't know if that car loan is one loan or both loans, but those are pretty high balances. If your goal is to become debt-free, then one of the things that we actually did ourselves, so when I give these recommendations, it's because we actually have done it and we are debt-free. So you might want to consider maybe selling one of the cars or selling both, or see about maybe refinancing. I'm not sure, but those are high car balances. I mean, that is so much. You're talking $22,000 in car debt. Imagine if you didn't have that. So weigh your pros and cons. Sometimes people are going to look at you a little weird. We are driving used cars, old ones, and I am so happy because I don't have a car payment, and I'm sure you would feel the same way too. Now, another thing I want to point out is I didn't see any credit cards. I'm not sure if maybe you didn't include it, but if you don't have credit cards and you don't have balances, then kudos to you. That is awesome. Another thing I saw is the phone bill. The total phone bill is $325. Do you have a family plan? Is there other people on your house? But if it's just 2 phone lines, that is a really high phone bill. Like, I'm not sure if you have like insurance that you pay on your phone, if you have upgraded your phone and you have a phone monthly installment charge, because if you do have an installment charge, you have to include that as a debt, just so you know. Keep that in mind because you don't technically own that phone. You're paying it as you go. So if you have both phones on installment plans, you have the new iPhone, or I'm not sure, you have to include that unpaid balance as your debt total. And then you can do the debt snowball with those phones, and maybe that's your less balance that you owe. and by paying that phone off, your phone bill then decreases. But if you don't have an installment plan, then that phone bill is really high for 2 lines. But again, I don't know too much of those details. I just saw black and white what was sent to me. But overall, those are my recommendations for you to be able to reach your goal of becoming debt-free, to grow your emergency fund, and to save for your sinking funds goals. But I think that you can apply this, and I hope that this gave you a new insight, or those that are in a similar financial situation. I hope that this gave you a different perspective on how you can lay out your paycheck budget. I'm a firm believer that setting a plan in place like this can set you up for success. And I truly believe that just having a simple plan will help you reach all of your financial goals. That is my goal of this channel, is to just help families find freedom in their finances. But that is everything for today's video. I'm so grateful for you. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Also, thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Definitely check the link in the description box if you are interested to joining any of those classes that are online. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in a brand new video. Bye guys.